Away.
Yeah, I chewed to fix the spark plugs because something was wrong with spark plugs.
Yeah, but I told him his alternator was gone.
That's why I told him. I'm fine. I literally told him.
Yeah,
He drove
Jesse,
it.
I see the 20 seconds. I'm just getting it ready on Zoom here. There's always a little delay, but it should be there right away.
Come sit with Daddy. I see you on here. I see you.
Okay, welcome to 1,000 Ways to be a Champion for Children. My name is Alan Friesen. If you watch this show before, Jesse, I see the 20 seconds. I'm just getting it ready on Zoom here. Oh, hang on 1 second. All right, there we go. All right. So if you've seen this show before, you know what this show is about. We are looking to prevent and reduce adverse childhood experiences. We are trying to increase awareness of childhood experiences. If you are an adult survivor of childhood trauma, we encourage you to address, try and solve those, feel it, heal it, and move on to a better life. Now, as you know, normally I only have one guest, but tonight, check this out. I got the whole Gervais clan. I got Mike, and I got his Queen Sandy, and I got his Prince Hunter. My goodness. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having us.
So, Mike, you have had a fairly tumultuous experiences as a young man. Would that be a fair statement?
That's more than fair, yeah.
Enlighten us a little bit. Tell us more.
I was raised, no excuse for the tumultuous point. That was kind of a self-induced, but I was raised in a great home, very God-fearing home, and that wasn't it wasn't good enough for me. I was to seek out what was out in the world, and as I was seeking, it turned into a snowball, and from one snowball got bigger into another snowball, and then boom, life got the best of me, and it was a journey and a half. I believe that all the choices I was making, though, were made because I was molested as a 6-year-old. My parents didn't know about that throughout the majority of my life into my teenager ages, about 14, 15, when they did find out. But a lot of the decisions and the power behind those decisions were from that moment when I was 6 years old.
Yeah, I can believe it.
Yeah, it was crazy. At the time, I didn't realize that was the issue. But as I got older, I started, it was pretty aware.
So now, and it was for you as a 6-year-old, you didn't share that with your parents until you were 14 or 15, several years later, because you were ashamed.
I was ashamed. Number one, I was ashamed.
Probably.
As I got, right? Yeah, I was, as I got older, it really got worse because my dad was a protector in our family. Like, he loved us. Obviously, just a lot of families. He was our protector. Number two, the person that did the damage at the beginning mentioned that I wouldn't be alive if I was to say anything to anybody for help. Are we all still alive here? Nope, hello, everybody.
Okay. Hey.
I'm here.
Okay, cool. My internet went flaky for a minute. It happens. I apologize.
It is what it is.
I didn't hear.
Hey, Mommy, stop.
Oh, I think your internet.
I didn't hear your mom and dad.
I am trying to hear you. Where all did you hear me up to?
Okay, Mike, I'm stopping my video to see if I can get enough bandwidth so I can hear you. I don't know why this is. So go ahead. What was it what did you say, or what are you saying?
Okay, where did you hear me from, Alan?
I just hear you. I asked you the question, hey, you didn't tell your parents till you were 14 or 15, and then that happened when you were 6 years old. So
okay,
was the delay because you felt shame? Is that what it was, or what? Why the delay?
There was two forces involved with that delay. Obviously, there was shame. There was huge shame, actually. Number one, though, I was, as a kid, the perpetrator, the person that caused all this grief from the molestation, mentioned I wouldn't be alive if I was to say anything to anybody. Straight up told me as a 6-year-old that it would kill me. And then that led right into, obviously, silence. And then as I grew up knowing my mom and dad, how much they loved me, and my dad was a protector. He's off the military base, blah, blah, blah. Loves my mom, very loving home. They're both together to the day. Shame started coming in the door until I was about 14, 15. And I was old enough to actually go forward and let my parents know what happened. And then after that, it just got worse personally.
When you actually, like, you'd think when you told your parents and they would be supportive and things would get better, but it got worse just because.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were very supportive. They had zero, because who the person was, they trusted it was a family member, and they trusted them with everything, right? Because no reason not to. It got worse on my half because I figured, I took shame even deeper, that I telling my dad, he felt like he failed as a dad, and I seen that written all over his face when I finally exposed my mom's auntie, and my dad really didn't know how to take that. It was his boy. He was protecting. He's our protector, and so I seen that hurt in his eyes, and that just destroyed my heart. Personally, I took it like I did. Maybe I shouldn't have said anything to them, and then it was a horrible. The next few years got crazy.
Because then at that point you felt very very bad that you had caused this pain in your father's kind of life, in terms of his perspective that he didn't look after you when he should have, kind of thing, right? That's what he felt shame because he didn't look after you, kind of a thing, right?
Correct. I took that responsibility on myself rather than let dad deal with the emotions of how he needed to deal with them. And I felt like I caused my dad grief where he didn't need to. Obviously that was twisted, but in a young boy that looks up to his dad at that point in my life, I really felt like I let him down because he let me down. But in my heart, I loved him. It was skewed. It was definitely a difficult time.
Yeah. Well, one thing that is real common there, Mike, I'm going to try camera again, see if we hold the signal.
There you go, you handsome man.
One thing that's really common is where 6-year-old Mike believed that he was at fault, that this was happening because he wasn't good enough somehow, right? That he was a bad kid or he deserved it. Like, that's what kids think, right? And
that's it. You nailed it.
Yeah. And so if that's the case, then how difficult is for you to have a good life if you're always in your mind thinking that you're less than, you're not enough, you're bad in some way, because otherwise this other stuff would never happen to you, right?
You nailed it.
Yeah. So, and that's what I think the message, Mike, we have to have. There's kids right now that are going through what you went through when you were 6 years old, right? That's happening.
It's amazing, Alan. I agree. I've got to sit down with a plethora, but that's for another conversation. But yes, there's so many.
Exactly. And I think that's a key message that we can say is, like, in your case, young Mike was not at fault in any way. Young Mike was like blameless, like, and so that's, I think, the message we got to let kids know, because if they're 30 or 40 or 50 years old and they're still hanging on to the thought that they're bad or unworthy somehow, that's tough to live a good life.
Yeah, it's actually, you nailed it, because I've dealt with like tons of successful men, not so much as women. I let my wife talk to them, but with the men aspect of even wealthy men that I've dealt with, they've reached out just since I've been putting my story up for the last few years. They've reached out, and the stories they tell me, I'm just like, oh my gosh, I'm not alone on this.
Yes. Yeah. It's way too common. And if we can, the question becomes, how do you stop that cycle, right? And so on Thursday, actually this week, you might find this interesting, Mike, we're doing a thing called Real Talk. And Real Talk is through this agency in Alberta called Say Jess, who believes they can end domestic violence. And a lot of times, of course, your type situation is there's domestic violence that happens somewhere before that occurs, right?
Yeah,
and so if you can kind of break that cycle up and prevent a hurt person from hurting somebody else, well, then you stop that cycle, and then hopefully we could eliminate violence.
That's
Sandy,
amazing.
you got something? You want something to share with us? You got something you want to comment?
I don't know. What would you
like to hear?
Like to hear?
Okay, well, when you first met Mike, you probably thought, what a sensitive, sweet boy he is. Is that what you thought?
I'm not sure if you can see my facial expressions back here. Can you?
I can. Yeah, I can. You're not buying that. No.
when I met Mike, we started out as just friends, and we were friends for about 2.5 years. And I was in love with him, and he told me, "You don't want to be with me. I'm really difficult to be with." And I trudged along through in that mud, and I followed him along. And he was really difficult to be with. He's good now, though. He's good. We're a great pair. He's very strong and like a bull and wants to push through. And me, I'm like in the background kind of person. So I'm like, oh, they want me to be in the meeting. Okay.
Well,
I'm quiet.
You are a key part in where Mike is today, aren't you? Like you were with him when he first had an overdose when he was like 16, weren't you?
Yeah.
No,
Well, I wasn't 16. I was 22.
Oh, 22.
Yeah.
No, I wasn't with him then. He's 9 years older than me. So no, I wasn't.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't be here. I'd probably be in jail right now.
Yeah.
I met Mike when he was 28 when I met him. And he's not 28 anymore.
Not 28 anymore. No.
And here I am.
Yeah, there you are. Yes. But he always says that my queen saved me. Sandy was the best part of my life that made me who I am today. He says stuff like that. What about you? You know that?
Yeah, I do. I know.
Yeah.
Well, I don't have the prettiest past myself. So
Okay.
I think for somebody to come along and walk beside him would have had to have the same experiences as he had, right? Like, so his issue and what happened when he was 6, that kind of thing didn't happen to me. But I'm talking about just his rougher lifestyle. So I could walk along that lifestyle with him and help draw him out of it, right? So
Nice. Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Answer to prayer huge. That was the big. Everybody wonders why I expose her on Facebook so much. I don't do it enough, but that's why.
Nice. Nice.
Yeah.
Well, that's awesome. What a success story. The love of a good woman saves Mike from destitution and all kinds of other terrible things that could happen to him.
And she's actually in that book I've been talking to you about for 2 years, but I'm still drawing that out. I got other things that are keeping us busy with Breathe Easy, but it's more descriptive than that too. So
Yes. Well, you did share me a draft. I don't know if you remember, you drafted your book and we had an interesting chat about it because
yes.
I had some problems as a youth as well, but not on your scale, but like, no, but yours were far, far different than my kind of level of stupidity.
Yeah, but it's all equal though.
True.
You know?
Yeah.
We are, yeah.
You know, you said you could have been dead. I could have been dead or addicted. I tried all kinds of drugs and did stupid things and drove reckless and drove drunk and drove stoned and did all kinds of bad, stupid things. When you're young and stupid and you're hurt, you react badly. So
you do.
You do. Yeah, for sure. You try and cover up the pain that's in your heart, right?
Yeah, exactly. And when the present moment is such an uncomfortable place to be, you have to find a way to get out of that present moment. And for a lot of people, drugs and alcohol are the only tools they know, right? So
literally, yeah. And adrenaline, fighting and pain is physical pain is a lot easier to deal with than mental pain. So when you get into that realm, that's addicting on its own, actually more than drugs and booze.
So is that what kind of led you to martial arts and boxing and those kind of activities?
Yeah, not so much the martial arts and stuff. I've always been interested in it and stuff, but yes, the fighting into things and growing up, more or less 100% actually. That was the biggest reason, because that would mask anything mental. As soon as if you get beat up or you beat somebody else up, that pain, physical pain, just takes away anything mental. Especially it's temporal. Like, I mean, you only got it for a few minutes, but it's hard to explain. It's better than drugs.
I understand what you're saying. It's a way to escape this present moment that's painful, is by the physical pain is something that does that for you, right?
There you go. And some people act out, maybe not quite fighting. Some people like to cut. I've never been into cutting, but it's the exact same idea. You got a bit of pain physical and it erases everything mentally for that moment, and you're free.
Well, you know, another part of it too is, I don't know if you've heard this before, but your mind controls your brain. Your mind can tell your brain that you're in pain and releases for you endogenous opioids, right? And that's what a lot of times, even women who are sexually assaulted, they'll be they'll be feel guilty because they didn't scream or yell or cry out, that kind of a thing. But their brain, with this process, this disassociation process, basically just kind of floods them with painkillers, kind of does the math and says, this is happening. You're gonna feel this pain. I'm gonna give you a ton of painkillers to help you endure this part. And then the person generally just goes limp, right? And then they think that, again, they think it was their fault because they didn't do more, but that's their body protecting them from the pain they're going to go through, right? So
that's amazing. I never heard that.
Yeah. So that's what it is possible. And the girls often who cut, that creates that same response, releases that same endogenous opioids, right? So yeah.
You just taught me something new. Huh?
Well, there you go. So besides your very busy life with Breathe Easy and your challenge to keep up with customer demands when people aren't working because of COVID and concerns and, you know, the federal government supports that are in place, you're having a tough time getting the right people to do the work you need done. But in addition to that, you got a whole like kind of a charity arm. Tell us about that.
Yes, Green and Yellow Group is what you're getting at here. It's a branch, an arm that we formed from Breathe Easy as an aggressive form to give back to well, it was originally for Lethbridge and it's slowly growing into other communities. But here in Lethbridge, it was an aggressive way to give back to families that fall and organizations that fall between the cracks. And it was 100%. The idea from the very beginning was the same person or people that reached out and believed in me from the beginning. We just want to be that same group to a person or a group organization, like Hard of Hearing, to give an example. We're working with a couple people right now to create an organization or possibly bring something down from Calgary here. There's such a need for that. They fall between the cracks, right? Because there's no specific organization in Lethbridge for that. Or somebody that's their bikes have been stolen and you see people reaching out on Facebook or the social media. We're able to go in there and try to fill the gap. Not for everybody yet, but we're getting there. But the whole mission is number one, to bring unity in the community. And number two is to find people that we can help, organizations that we can help to fall between the cracks. And then we want to grow from there.
Nice. And those, you know, as I'm sure you're aware of this, you do those kind of things, and you might not think there's much of a return on it, but that could be an event. That could be a life-affirming event for who you're helping, that they remember that the rest of their life. It might even change the path of their life, right? Sandy changed the path of your life by becoming part of your life, right? And we have a huge impact, influence on other people that we could do just even if we can't help them, but we say, listen, I understand what you're going through, and that's tough. Like, you know, right? Do you agree?
I 100% agree, Alan. And that's the whole purpose, because now I understand a little bit, not even close to where I don't think we'll ever learn in a lifetime how much we can affect a certain person. But that one person we affect, like you say, it will always be positive. And they'll come back, and it's all purpose for the community, so that they're going to be an effectual person in the community. They'll be able to heal, and also they can affect people in their circle that we aren't able to touch or even know. But with that same culture of unity and getting back out there, they are now affecting other hurt people or other organizations or people that have fallen who are quiet mainly because they don't reach out. These people I'm talking about will not reach out, and those are the ones we try to reach into. And so we help one person financially, or maybe their heart gets healed. Now look at who they can help out. They can help out too, and you do the math. That's a huge. It's a shift.
Definitely so. Yeah. And one thing about helping little people, especially, is that could be a decades long difference in that person's life, right? I mean, if you're looking at it from a cost-effective type investment thing, man, there's not anything better you can do. If you can change somebody's life, make it 5% better, and that change has a trajectory for the rest of their life, that's huge, right? So
yeah, exactly, because if we can get in there before all that disaster stuff that gets into them little children, you know, if we can get there before and start helping right at ground zero, that's amazing what you do when you take away 25 years of their own dealing with it and trying to get help later on as an adult. So we get in there before, like you literally have a community shift when you start influencing lives prior to the damage. You know, it's almost like damage control.
Yeah, very much so. Very much so. So no names or anything, but tell us an example of somebody with yellow green, like, this was this boy who was this old, or this person that was, tell us an example of somebody you helped with yellow and green and what kind of difference it might have made in their life.
I will give you an example of why we have, we actually, I won't say his name, but he's on our board. I've already introduced you to the fellas that are on our board, but he was not affected by green and yellow, but by the group that came. It was a motorcycle group. We're not a motorcycle club, but there was a motorcycle group way back in the day when he was a child that showed up to his doorstep with groceries. It was Christmas time. Santa Claus showed up. They came up with groceries. Oh, sorry.
With your hand.
She's helping you. Anyways, they showed up and it gave this 8-year-old. He was 8 years old at the time, and he was blown away. He just came he was from El Salvador, and his whole family came here. No money, no nothing. And all of a sudden, these bikers showed up to his doorstep with groceries, money, gifts. Santa Claus was coming in, blah, blah, blah. And then now we fast forward years later. Green and Yellow Group didn't exist then, but we do exist. And that's actually what we do. We like to find the people that fall between the cracks of life, right?
Yeah.
And so this fella was following us, seeing what kind of group. He's one of the guys that were not a naysayer, but wanted to pay attention where our money and our time went. And long story short, 4 years later, he come knocking on the door and said he'd like to be a volunteer. And he's been a volunteer now for quite some time. And then he furthered that, and he wanted to be on the board. And so he's been on the board for a good time now. And furthering that, he's actually applying to be a possible candidate to take over the presidency, so I could step back in as executive and then further some other things without getting too descriptive on here and throwing some secrets away. But yeah, it's to say that's a good example. Yeah.
Yeah. That's the whole cycle thing we're talking about, right?
Yes.
That's it, man. We just got to keep doing more and more of that. And maybe a lot of it's going to be one at a time, but that's okay. Like, I'm thinking that, I don't know how many, more people than I do probably, but
I don't know about that.
Well, you know everywhere. A lot anyways. If we encouraged, I don't know, 10% of the people that we know to say, hey, you know what? Find a kiddo in your network of people, right? Your niece and nephew, your best friends, and reach out and just kind of have a relationship where they feel comfortable, they can talk to you. And, because sometimes kiddos can't talk to their parents about stuff, right?
Nope, you nailed it.
Yeah, but you could talk to another adult who's listening to you, right? That kind of thing. And just that opportunity that they can talk to somebody, that's a huge, huge thing, right? They don't have to hold on to that pain and that guilt for decades, right? They can solve it and move on quicker now, right? So, and I'm not trying to trivialize bad things that happen to little. I mean, I'm not in any way trying to make it sound less than it is. They're horrible things that are done to little people. Well, horrible done to humans.
I know what you're saying in general, but yeah.
Yeah. Have you ever heard of Dr. Bruce Perry, by the way?
No.
Oh, man. He's got a book called The Boy Who Was Raised as a Dog. And he is like the world's best child psychologist type to help kids deal with trauma. And in this book, there's these horrendous type things these kiddos have gone through. The title story is A Boy Who Was Raised as a Dog. This young girl, 14, has a child. She can't take care of the child, so she gives the child to the mom. Mom is like 65 and obese and a diabetic. And after a couple of years, mom dies. And so this little boy is with mom, and mom had a boyfriend, and the boyfriend doesn't know nothing about kids, but he knows about dogs. So he raises him a dog, puts him in the cages with the dogs, and every week or so changes his diaper, I guess, whatever, throws the food into the cage. And this kid, it was like 2 years that this kid was living like this, right? And so, but Dr. Perry here goes, and with the right interventions, because he says your brain actually changes. Like, there's this neurosequential model of development, and your physical brain changes its development with trauma, and it varies depending on when that trauma is introduced. And so then he goes and has his whizzy magical ways, which are mostly movement and music, or a lot of things he does, and gets the kid healed so that he goes to university. He has he gets has a female companion. I don't know, they get married. But
whatever,
anyway, turns his life all the way around, kind of a thing, after having this horrendous abuse. So there's hope, but if we can prevent the abuse instead, right? If we can prevent the kiddos, that's what we want to do, right? So
yes,
yeah,
yes, that's awesome.
Yeah, cool. So probably the best book I ever read, The Boy Who Was Raised as a Dog. It's an amazing
Mental
book.
note, I'll get it.
All right, sounds good. Sandy, you got anything to add there?
No, I don't think so. I just think that I guess watching Mike's heart just attached to this whole green and yellow thing, and just like, he's not a bleeding heart, but sometimes it seems a little bit like that. Before we started Green and Yellow Group, it makes me kind of emotional just thinking about it. Sorry. I'm a crier.
That's fine.
Before we started this, Mike used to use our paychecks for things. And I told him, I said, we need to be able to pay for our stuff first, baby. So you need to create something so that you can continue to do these things and help these people, because we need to live too.
Yeah, that's good advice. That's good advice. All right. Because, hey, can we give of something that we don't have? Like, we can't, right? So keep it our own self-care, looking after ourselves. Super, super important that we get that, right? And then the better we do that, the better we can be of value to other people, right? Because we got the strength, the energy, the resources, to be able to do that. So
100%.
Sure.
And she taught me that. So I learned I got to find a model to do this. So I'm like, what am I good at? I'm good at tin basting. So let's start a business. What am I good at? I love people. Okay, let's start Green and Yellow Group. And then that kind of scared her doing it, but it's working out. So
well, when we started, I worked full-time at Streets Alive. So I worked full-time at Streets Alive, then I came home and did the books in the evening until we got a bookkeeper. So it was a lot.
No kidding. No kidding.
She learned it from YouTube too. So that was pretty cool.
I did. It was good though.
Hey, you know what? YouTube, I love it. But sometimes you got to pay more attention to the YouTube video you choose. I got a skid steer that has tracks on it, and one of the little idler wheels broke off. And so I'm going to fix it myself. I look up on YouTube, and the video I watch is of this guy, and he's just got big pry bars, and he's got somebody in the cab bumping on the controls. And I thought, wow, that doesn't look like the best way to do this, but okay. So I did it that way, got the damn thing fixed. And then 4 years later, it failed again. So and this time I'm not going to fix it, because it was horrendous the first time. So I take it to Western Tractor, and they say, well, Mr. Friesen, we undid those 2 bolts so we could swing the tracks out and work. And I said, wait a minute, what?
What 2 bolts?
Exactly. So there's these bolts, and then you swing the tracks out, then you can work on everything easily, right? So anyways, you got to pay attention to which YouTube videos you watch, I think.
I hear you. Yeah.
Cool. So Green and Yellow sounds great. And you just told me that Green and Yellow, before we got on the air, that you're getting it all incorporated and registered as a charity, and you're going to kind of make it more official so people feel more comfortable in donating their time and money to it, right? That's exciting stuff.
That is really exciting. We're working with our business lawyer right now as we speak, moving forward into we're incorporated. Green and Yellow Group, we started incorporated. We didn't know what we were doing at the beginning. So we had to do something. At least it was, can you see me?
Oh, there you are. Okay,
There we
I don't
go.
know what happened. There you go.
My battery just said it was low, so I disappeared on everything. So anyways, we started as just to keep an integral kind of advance while we move forward. We incorporated just so it looked legit, and we weren't trying to hide nothing. And then long story short, in the last couple 3 months, we've been encouraged by, number one, our lawyer, but a couple other people, to push it on to nonprofit, because we have some people that want to give to us, but they don't know who we are or where our mission is, and they don't know us personally. Like, I know who you are, you're good, you'll give me $5, but the next guy that's in your same position won't give me $5 because he doesn't know where we're going to do with the cash, who I am. And that, I believe, putting this into a nonprofit with a charity will erase all those concerns, and we'll also be able to grow, because we're not just staying in this community. We're in the process of talking with some other communities as well. So that's another exciting facet of it. And I think it'll be more, I believe it'll be more professional and legit that way anyway.
Yeah. And you're certainly going to be able to to expand your impact, right? To be able to help more by having more resources coming in, more people feeling comfortable with what you're doing. So, yeah.
Yeah. And the biggest thing too is the bodies that are people that are coming in now. It's been pretty amazing, like with the volunteers and the professional people and our mentors that are jumping on board now that are not just from here, from the States and whatnot, saying this is what you could do, this is how you can help out. And then you attract the people with like minds, like yourself. You want to help out children. That's what we want to do, widows and children. I mean, men as well, like everybody equally, but fall between the cracks, like I said earlier. But we attract those people that come on board and behind the scenes that every single day they're out there doing something and helping us push, and they come up with amazing ideas I would never even come up with. So it's growing. We just, to take you back to the charity part, we want to put a charity number, so we give the opportunity to the companies that would like that tax receipt. And then there's a professional ground. That's why we put together a board. Our board is full of people from not every, but all over different walks and professional, whether you're wealthy or you're a management position. But we did purposely pick those board members on purpose.
I kind of felt like we were in like a show and Sandy was the roadie. The cables are coming out. She's connected stuff while we're talking. We don't miss a beat.
This is our life. This is our life. Seriously. While he's like on the front lines, I'm like in the back, like, okay, Kurt, let's do this. Let's do that.
She does a really good job. She makes me look like I'm a shiny.
His phone was dying, so I had to get the cord.
Nice. Excellent. Hey, you're talking about your lawyer. Do you like your lawyer?
I kind of like him. He's also stepping up his game too. He's going to be sniffing out the political game, I guess.
Oh yeah. Well, did you want to mention him in this discussion?
Yeah, I sure do. A big shout out to Stephen Mogden. He's a heck of a guy. Personally, he's a great guy on all levels, and he's given us lots of advice over the last years with Green Yellow Group. To be specific, one of my I bounce ideas off him all the time just to keep it more professional. So we're a see-through group, but he's a great guy on all levels, professional, whether it's grabbing a bite to eat or whatever else.
Yes, yeah, I met Stephen when he was the chamber of the president, or the president of the chamber. Pardon me, is when I spent probably the most time with him. But yes, he is a very community-minded person, very smart person. Yeah, he's an asset to our community. So
100%. That's actually the reason I like hanging out with him. He's community-minded, and it doesn't matter if you're here. He can come to anybody at all levels, and he's willing to too. So, and he accepted me right from the beginning, like the very around the edges.
For sure. When we first started the business, we didn't know what we were doing. And he was very gentle at directing us, in areas that we should be going in and things that we should be doing. And I didn't feel like I was talking to, like this big time, he made me feel very comfortable moving forward in our business. So
and if you see this, Stephen, I want a discount on our future services.
Little bit of promotion, that should get you something, right? So, but I understand what you're saying, Sandy. It's easy for you don't know. You go to somebody who does know, and they treat you like you're an idiot because you don't know. But it's stuff you like. They took all the school, you haven't. They should know that. But their job as knowing is to help you that don't know, right? So not
a lot of people are like that. We've been like what you're saying here is true. I've approached, like, even when I first started Breathe Easy, I've approached multiple people. I'm not afraid of that, but I've been in through many doors, many business doors from here to Calgary to Medicine Hat. And he was one of the few guys that just jumped in and seen the fire. It was written all over my face, and he was on it right away.
Very easy to talk to.
Yes. Yeah. And so he grasped the passion and hustle, the Mike passion and hustle strategy.
100%. He read it the whole way, and he's been a great guy.
Nice.
Yeah.
Hey, are your mom and pa still with us?
Yes.
Are they doing, or do you have a good relationship now?
I do now. I've always had a good relationship with my mom, and I know that my dad's always liked me or loved me, liked me. He better like me. But we had our indifferences for, like I said, when I took my walk from 15 until when I met her, he didn't raise me for half the stuff I was doing, and didn't raise me to be a fighter. It was raised just to be the man, work hard and blah blah blah. And I worked hard in other means. So
Yes. Yeah.
But yeah, the last few years, it's been really good. He awarded me with my grandpa, I never met him, with his medals and his war medals and a bunch of other stuff too. It's just the list goes on. Last summer we went camping for the first time in my life with him, so that says a lot.
Nice.
Yeah.
I was. Oh wait, no, I was mentioning this to you. Your strategy for family planning: a 24-year-old, a 2-year-old, and a 3-year-old.
And a 3-year-old come Sunday. My youngest boy is 3. That was Sandy's fault, but I accept that fault because he's a handsome, changed my life little boy.
Yes. And I love the picture you put on Facebook with Hunter in the arms of your mom. Oh, that was such a sweet photo. So
And that depicts my mom from when I was a baby to now. She's still doing it with Hunter.
Yeah.
And that's how she's been her whole life. My dad's
With
been
all children.
Yeah, my dad's the strict army guy. My mom's the social butterfly, loves people. And between the two of them, they got me.
Hey, you know what? Do you know, I don't know if you know this, I like to sing. Have you ever heard that before?
What's that, sorry?
I like to sing. Have I told you that before?
Yo, I know you love to sing.
Yeah. So one of the songs I love to sing is a Travis Tritt song, and it's "Where Would We Be Without the Love of a Woman?" And my answer is nowhere. Right there. There was a woman who kept me, who grew me inside her, who delivered me, who took care of me until she died, making sure that I was going to get education and health care and food and sleep, and I was going to get what I need to be a good person. I didn't kind of follow the good person thing for a while, but I'm back, and it's because you and I, all of us, we had a mother who did that for us. So
that's precious, man. I appreciate you saying that. That's a good shout out to moms, especially yours. That's really good. It's nice to hear that.
Yeah. I wish I would have told her that when she was alive, but whatever. Not much.
You can hear it now.
Yes, exactly. That's my strategy. So yes.
Yeah, right. Yeah. I know women are. I talk highly about ladies. I mean, especially my mom and my wife, but women in general. There's a special spot in my heart. Always has been, and it's lovely hearing that you say that about your mother. It says a lot.
Well, you know what, Mike? I've learned something recently, and I know this applies to you, but you might have never heard the concept. Have you ever heard of the thing called the man box?
Nope.
Okay, so I heard this just recently. I actually took a course on it through Next Gen Men. And basically what it is this. I was conditioned, I was told a whole bunch of things about what it means to be a man. Take a guess on what some of those things might be, Mike. What kind of things were you told that you would make you a man? And probably from kids your age that told you this stuff.
Well, I don't know. Growing up was take care of your wife, number one. If somebody needs help, take care of them, number two. And then any of the ladies that you see around that you just need a hand. I mean, I watched my dad help out ladies my whole life in a good way. Like he's just I was raised by a really good guy. So my journey didn't depict him at all.
All right. Well, when I reflect on it now, basically it's that what boys are taught and what they do when they become men is men are tough. They don't ask for help. Yeah. That's problem one, right? Because everybody needs
100%.
Everybody needs help. So men are tough. They don't ask for help. And if they want to insult another man, they usually refer to him some way as a woman, right? Some way as a female. Well, what does that mean? That means that men think females are less somehow than men. Yeah. And that's craziness, right? That makes no sense, right? But if that's the perception that you had when you're growing up, that explains a whole bunch.
No, I hear you.
Yeah. So anyways, I think that's something that even now as well, we need more. Hey, there's Hunter. Hey there, Hunter.
Hi. Say hi, everybody.
Hi.
Can you tell Alan how old you are?
2.
How old are you going to be next week?
3.
Woo! Look at you. Hey?
Yeah.
Nice. What are you going to do for your birthday? What's the celebration?
Who's coming to your birthday?
Fluffy.
Who?
Blippy. It's a kid's show. He dresses in orange and blue. If you look it up afterwards, it's all the kids love it.
YouTube star.
Yeah, he's a YouTube star. He's ex-military, but you never know he's military. He loves kids.
Oh, interesting. Oh,
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah.
I forgot word. Oh, I know.
Oh,
The man
birthday.
dogs thing. Next
Yes.
gen men. So anyways, I learned a lot from this. And then part of it is, and this is kind of what, you remember we were saying about what one person can make a difference in somebody else's life, right? So similar to what you're doing, I'm trying to create a schwack of caring adults who say, hey, I got some time to give to a little person. I can make a difference in somebody's life, right? And so if we get a schwack of people and each of them say, hey, there's like 1 or 2 kids that I can, check in with, that I can talk with, that I can help with, that I can offer them to say, hey, do you want to see what welding is like? Here, I'll show you, right? Or,
that's awesome.
those kind of things, right?
Yeah.
And one thing we just started, Mike, that I'm excited about is through Rotary, we started this thing called the Rotary Ready, Set, Drive. And so how a lot of kids now don't have their driver's license, right?
Correct.
And without their driver's license, it really curtails their opportunities, their employment opportunities, their social opportunities. So then the thought is that we're going to assist these younger folks to get their driver's license. And so just kind of basically study the book with them, and then help them write that test, right? And then that'll give them more opportunities, and it's good for us as a community because we got more qualified, competent people who can contribute, right? So
no, that's awesome. That's powerful, man.
yeah, I think so too. And I'm hoping that we get more, that we can expand that to other kind of fields of study or other supports. You did a thing on Facebook just the other day about in high school, kids should learn these 9 things, I think. Okay, that same kind of a thing where we get just adults that know it, adults that say, I got some time I can spend, I got some time to invest. And then we get them kind of teaching. Here's how you hold, how you do a budget. Here's how, here's how you take care of yourself. Here's how
your learner's license, like you just said. Yeah, that's awesome. That's huge.
Yeah, I think so too. I think it'll be real exciting. Yeah.
And that'll shrink the gap between the older and the younger too, as well.
I think so too. Yes, exactly. Yeah. And if it all works like it's supposed to, like, maybe I help Caleb today as an example, and maybe, 6 months or a year down the road, Caleb has a situation. He has a problem and he calls me and said, I need somebody to talk to. I said, I'm your man.
You just built that bridge. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah,
Beautiful.
exactly.
Yeah.
Because they might not ever feel comfortable reaching out to somebody. But if you have some kind of relationship, right, that, that maybe that's a way. Yeah. No,
that's you nailed it though. As a common thread, you build a common thread with any of those guys. That's bigger than trust.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I know that I have this friend, his name is Dr. Greg Williams, and he's a doctor in Houston, Texas. And he was physically abused for like 14 years. Like it was bizarre by his father. And his father would sometime invite his father's friends over, and
have their way. Terrible.
Bizarre stuff. But anyways, he had an aunt and uncle who didn't even know anything about this abuse. But the aunt and uncle saved his life, because that's where he would go. Little Greg would go to have a normal type of thing, right? To talk with people who care about him, that don't want anything from him, don't want to hurt him in any way. Just to, hey, Greg, can you play something on the piano? Or, hey, Greg, good to see you.
And they had no idea they were building this bridge for him.
Exactly. And he says that saved my life, right? Just that influence in my life. So
that's wild.
So, they didn't even know they were helping him, right? But for him, that made all the difference. So yes. No,
that's beautiful. No, I like what you're doing. I always like what you're doing.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, I'm excited. I think I have a plan. Mike. I don't have as much passion as hustle as Mike Gervais, but I got some. So here's my plan. I figure about 20 hours a week to invest in reducing adverse childhood experiences or preventing them, learning more, communicating more. This is part of it, right? So if I got 20 hours a week and I figure I got 20 years of good health, that's like a schwack of hours, like about 20,000, I believe that is.
That's
so
a lot of children.
Yes. Over 20, putting 20,000 hours in, I and attracting other people in, we should be able to make a significant difference. So
100%, right? And that'll just grow like a wildfire.
I'm hoping.
I know so. Yeah, it'll go.
Good,
Yeah,
good,
it has
excellent. I like your optimism. You're always very optimistic, Mike. So
Yeah. Well, plans are great. As soon as you're moving, you move on them, man. Your passion alone is awesome. I sat with you at coffee at Penny's or a while back. Or not Penny's. That was at the bread, milk, and honey, and that was awesome. So I mean, you got it. Guys are yourself. I believe we have a responsibility though when we have that passion and you get an idea. It's a terrible thing if we sit on our ideas, these awesome plans, and not move forward, because all it needs is that old cliche where one guy stands up and cheers on the team. Then there's another guy that's actually wanted to do what you've been doing, but didn't have the ball, or sorry, not the ball, but to move forward on it. So he stands up with you because you're doing it. And now you got 5, 6, 10, 20, 60, 80, 100 other guys and gals that are doing your plan because of Alan's passion, because you do got it, man. You got it. You're moving forward. You're brilliant, but I'm not trying to float your boat, but you're brilliant and you got passion behind it, and you care about children, and that's the win-win. You just move forward, and others like myself will join, and you'll have a ton of people wanting to join.
Yeah. I'm really, I don't want to brag about my prowess with looking after little people, but let me tell you this.
Brag away. That's a good thing to brag about.
I had a firearm safety course last year. No, it was in 2019. Pardon me. 2019, I had a firearm safety course. And one of the students called the night before and said, I got this little boy. I can't find a babysitter. What? I said, bring him to the class. And she said, really? I said, yeah, bring him to the class. So mom brings her baby to the class. He's like, I don't know, 3 months old, 4 months old, something like that.
That's awesome.
And so we're going, and the little boy was getting a little bit fussy. So I go over and say, here, mom, can I have? So I just put him on my shoulder, and I'm teaching, and I'm rocking, and I'm and the boy just falls asleep on my shoulder, right? So I go walk over and give it back to mom. There you go. So yeah.
You might have found a new niche there, man. I wouldn't say that too loud. This is live too. You're in trouble.
Well,
Alan, what are you doing tonight?
Exactly. This sounds like I'm applying for a babysitting gig, doesn't it?
I know. Oh shoot, that's awesome. That's definitely a good thing to brag about, my friend.
Yeah, I was pretty excited about how that went. So yeah. But that's what I know. It seems like kids love like the rocking and the rhythm, and lots of times I sing to them as well, and they could feel the vibration on your chest, right? That's a very calming thing as well. So yeah,
and that doesn't change even when they're babies. It's just spending time with them little guys that'll change your life, like going back in your conversation. It's definitely, this is awesome. Okay.
Yes,
That's yours.
Thank you.
Oh, he's bringing you over some supper. Look at that.
Play-Doh supper. Thank you. What did you make?
It's fish.
It's fish.
Yeah.
We'll have to eat that later. I'm on TV. I get stuck in my tooth and I'll need a toothpick.
Exactly. We don't want that. So, all right. Well, what else should we talk about, Mike?
Oh, there's so much we can talk about. You guide this. You let me know what you want to talk about.
Well, I'm loving what you're doing with Yellow Green. Loving that you're getting it all. Steven's helping you get her all legal and charity wise. Nicely done, Mr. Mogden.
Yes, 100%. That part's really exciting. There's so much going on there, but I don't. We'll need like 5 hours to talk about it. But there's lots of good things coming from there. Lots of people involved. Lots of organizations from this community outside of Lethbridge and other communities that are going to be joining the whole movement. I don't know if to call it a movement or whatever, but they'll be taking Green Yellow's name on, and it's pretty exciting.
Nice. And do you have I mean, I know it's for people who fall through the cracks, but how do you identify them? Just like they're people in the community, or, Spencer says to you, hey, I was talking to Sally and Sally needs some help, that kind of a thing?
100%. You just nailed it. And then how we actually fish them out too. We do, like in Christmas, we'll put together, we're going to help out 5 families. So I need you to nominate 5 families. So what they do is they nominate, like 300 families are nominated, right? But technically we can only help out 5 families out of that 300. But little do you know, and behind the scenes, that's where we can start going through the other 300 that were nominated and figure out their stories and see what other organizations are around, other families that have come forward to us and say, hey, we have a couple extra grand. We've done well this year, and like literally give us, like, we just had a couple, I won't say names, but thank you if you guys see this show. They just came forward with $5,000 to Green Yellow Group, explained to them that we weren't a charity yet, but we were going after that. We're incorporated. So this money that you're going to give us, completely donated. And before I even got to finish the conversation, they pulled out the check that was pre-made to Green Yellow Group from the couple themselves, not their business, just to give you the idea of what support we do have behind us, but the power that this charity number, because they do have friends that want to donate too, but from their business, which is makes sense. I mean, it's a write-off, and it does allow their company to help us out. But it's growing and it's trusted, and we're able to help out people behind that fall through the cracks of life, or they're falling behind in life by some of these programs. Like, to tie back into the conversation you were asking me. That's why we put those things out on Facebook and then LinkedIn and Instagram to say, hey, we need your help. Let us know some families, because we don't just sit on the 5 families and woo, thank you, we helped out, we did a good job, and we'll move on to our next our event, right? There's method behind our madness, and that's how we find out who needs help in the city. And we don't play God. It's super hard. It's sometimes disheartening, because you want to help out a lot of families, because a lot of these families that do need help, they're reaching out for us because of the children. 80%, 75 to 80% are reaching out because of their children. They don't have yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a lot about the children. People reach out for the children, but
Yeah.
Especially with Rona and stuff lately, with nobody being able to leave houses and stuff. There's a lot of not so good things that I'm not sure what I'm not allowed to say on here, but there's abuse going on. Fathers that can't handle being locked up with their children, and those are the comments we get. So I say that those are you probably hear about this as well. But that's how we comb through the crowd in Lethbridge, and then.
So it sounds like, Mike, you're it's not a kind of a one-off thing. You're forming a relationship that you hope to revisit and re-help if situations change. That's a beautiful thing. You become kind of their guides or mentors or aiders, you know what I mean, to try and assist them further. That's
yeah, and then put them into other organizations. We have a few other people that have reached out from other organizations that actually are there to associate, like My City Care. There's Mallory Christensen. I don't know if I'm saying you're wrong, Mallory, your last name, but there's a lot of good people out there that are directly or indirectly involved with us, helping us find other people that we can help out, whether it's be bicycles, or we can mentorship with some of the moms and the dads out there that are struggling. And then when we do get to meet them, when we do drop off these gift packages, usually it's a blessing in disguise, because they get to now tell you their story. There's a bridge built, and this is actually what we've been dealing with. You came at the perfect time, and it's always the same story, but different journey. And I'm not trying to belittle anybody, but the same story is that you show up at the perfect time, man. Because any time that you reach out is the perfect time, and I found that out. It doesn't matter, like, and that's why I'm really excited about what you do with the children, Alan, because it's always the perfect time. If we wait till tomorrow, that's not a good time. Right now is the right time. Yeah. And then our plans that your plans that you're doing, you're implementing, are the right time. And when you go in to help these families, you're going to say, you came at the perfect time. And almost 100% of the time that we help out families, it's seriously the same comment. You came at the perfect time. You don't even know this. And they're all different people. So how do they all say the same thing?
Yes.
You know, yeah. Dynamics are crazy.
Yeah. I was going to comment a little bit on where you said about, where now during COVID, right? Lots of times we have abusers and abused in the household, and they're not going anywhere. So that exacerbates a bad situation, right? And I know that through my victim services unit, I've been a volunteer with a victim services unit from 1995. I don't actually do the advocacy work. I just write checks and stuff like that.
I can only imagine the stories they have.
Oh, yes. And it's just that's actually what started me on this path, because even though I've been doing the victim services thing for 25 years, 2 years ago, the coordinator of our unit, her name's Adonis, was sharing some of the statistics with me. And back in the day when I started, the worst type of thing you'd have is notification and next of kin. Somebody died, John died in a car accident, and the RCMP officer and Sally would go to the door and say, Mary, John has passed away. Sally's here to help you, right? Sally's with victim services. But now, child sexual assault, child assault, number 1 and number 2. They flip around from month to month, but number 1 and number 2. And it's just and then that led into the whole research on ACEs, Adverse Childhood Experiences, which is from 1998. This isn't new stuff, right? But the linkage between adverse childhood experiences, unresolved, like not where a little does not get the help, right? And often would be because they don't ask for the help because they're too ashamed to ask for the help, but they don't get the help. And then everything that is worse in your life, your health, your relationships, your ability to learn are all impaired by not addressing that trauma, right? Because again, it comes back to a fundamental belief that somehow that incident that you had nothing to do with, not your fault in any way, that you blame yourself, you think yourself less than for some reason. And that's what we got to stop that.
Yep. And you're getting it. I'm so excited that, and anybody that's watching right now, or hopefully this helps you kind of reach out. So this is good. This is good.
Exactly.
More shows like this. Yeah.
Yeah. We really need to, like, guilt and shame has to, like, gone, finished, over. And you know what? Another thing, when we're talking about stopping this cycle or breaking this cycle, of course, the men are the perpetrators, right? Like sexual assault, 97% of the perpetrators are men. No big surprise, right?
Yeah.
But men, David Irvine, I don't know if you know him, he's like a guru in authentic leadership and stuff. Recently, he had a quote, and it said that violence is what happens when there's no other way to express your suffering. And that makes a whole bunch of sense to me, right? If you have a guy who's been in the man box, he's strong, he's tough, he can't talk to anybody, and all he learned was you use your fist or your feet to gain power over, to get whatever you want, because that's your thing, and you don't talk about emotions, you don't cry, then that sets up that this person, they're suffering, and if the only way they know to express that suffering is with their fists, that's what's going to ultimately happen.
Yep. Man.
Okay, so we have 3 minutes and 30 seconds. The lovely Sandy has been quiet. Sandy, share with us.
You bug her for 2 seconds, and I'm gonna run away for 2 seconds.
You go for it, man.
Thank you.
Okay. What would you like to know?
Well, I don't know. Like, you know, your path with Mike. I mean, you knew right away that you wanted him, that you wanted, well, not, that sounds wrong, but that you were interested in him as a relationship right when you first met him, but he was too screwed up for you to kind of pursue, right? Is that a fair statement?
Yeah.
Yeah. And so, and then how was it that you decided that you were in and you were going to make a difference in this man's life and you were going to be there for him? How does that happen?
Well, I guess you could say I was like a people fixer. So I didn't really choose the best of spouses in my life. But he also, I could see his excitement for life and just excitement to want to do things, right? So I guess that drove me to him. And he's very, very sure of himself. And I mean, like, he's just so confident in whatever he chooses to put his hand to, right? So I feel like that really, really felt like that was what I wanted for my life. So
nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Excellent.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's great. And so is Mike your first husband? No. Is that right?
Yeah, he's totally my first husband. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm only gonna be 35 on the first, so
as opposed to that old man you're with. Oh, he's right there. Let's not talk about it.
I'm just a baby.
Yeah. She's my number 2 and my final, and nobody else.
Yeah. Yeah, so
Excellent.
he's my first husband, and I've been through a few relationships, but nothing like, we've been married for 12 years now, so, and we were friends for 2.5 and dated for six months, I think. And then Julie Kissick from Streets Live married us.
Oh, really? She was she was the officiant. Oh, nice.
She was, yeah.
Oh, nice. So tell me about your experience working the Streets Alive. That must have been eye-opening for you. Is that a fair statement?
Oh man, it totally was. You know, though, my aunt, she used to volunteer for Streets Alive, and so I used to go there quite often with her when I was younger. So I already had kind of an idea of what it was and what it was like and stuff. And also prior to Streets Alive, I worked at the shelter. So I just, you know, being in the lifestyle that I was in before, drugs and alcohol, you know, it really felt like I had a calling to it. So I was really drawn to Streets Alive. which is funny because Ken baptized me when I was like 9 years old, which is so funny how later on I got called to working there. So it was definitely eye-opening, and it really, you really see how close a person can be to being homeless, you know, and just the ugliness of life and things that can happen to people is just really awful. And I just think that if anybody could go there and volunteer or something, or volunteer with the needy, it can really open your heart to, you know, like a community that needs help, I think.
No, I understand, Tyler. Like what, you know, there's a lot of people, and COVID has exposed this, right? They're like right on the cusp, and one thing goes wrong, their car breaks down, and then like 2 months later, they're on the street, right? You know,
Literally.
you know, that's those things
Literally.
happen, and that doesn't make any sense, right? I mean, there's
No.
there's enough for everybody, right? We just got to kind of get how we going to make that work, right?
Yeah.
I don't know if you there was 2 programs to end poverty in Canada that were operating prior to COVID. And they, in that period of time, they brought 1.3 million Canadians out of poverty. Then COVID came, and, you know, now it's kind of like rebuilding, right? But that gives me big hope, right? Like what if no poverty existed, right? What if there was no violence and no poverty? Man, our life would be a pretty amazing place.
It's 100% possible too.
Yeah.
And I know what you're talking about. I've seen that.
I agree.
It's just an aggressive approach at eradicating poverty. That's what it is. And it's 100% possible.
Yeah,
Just
sure.
like you said, you have a plan for children. Somebody put a plan for poverty, put it into place. Everybody got interested, said, oh, this works. And then it multiplies.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
You know what? We're more than an hour. I guess we should probably wrap this up.
Cool.
Hey, that was super fun. Very exciting chatting with you, and introducing me to Hunter. So that was nice as well. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
And keep yourself well. Thanks
As
for
well.
watching.
Yeah, you too.
He's trying to clear it. He'll come back on. I think we're still live. Can you hear us, Al?
No, don't come in.
I don't know. Oh, did you hear him?
He said that Jesse left, so he had to have left Jessica.
Hunter. Was that
You
fun?
did so good.
You did really good.
Yeah.
You
Yeah,
kind
we're
of
waiting
trying to
for
figure out-
Alan to come back.
I think he's just saying goodbye to his friend Jesse.
Yeah.
Just fancy clothes. Oh, no, I can hear him.
Can you?
No.